So you're out on the lake, you need to deliver your bait out into your swim. What is the best method to do so? Well, you have a number of choices. You can either use a bait boat to drop it out, you can use a normal standard boat and literally physically go out into the lake and drop it out, or you're going to be relying on either a ground bait ball or you can use a spod or a spom. Now the spom is one of the new kids on the block kind of device. It's a very, very nifty device. It comes in a couple of different flavors. There's a number of different colors, but this one is the white one. It's my preferred one because you get to see it visually. You can see it landing at distance. And if you were to crack off, the blacks tend to be kind of a little bit harder to find, although, you know, some people prefer to use the black ones. Now, they come in a number of different sizes. They've got small ones which can be used on a standard rod with a bit of a shock leader, or you can use the midi, which is this size, which is my favorite size, or the very large one. Now, as I said, it's a pressure release system, so that as soon as it impacts on the water, the door opens, and it means that whenever you cast it out, you're not losing any bait. Sometimes when you use a spod, as you punch it out, a lot of the bait leaves the back of the actual spod and only a half or a third actually delivers into the swim. Not so with the spom, and that's why it's become so popular. So that's the spom delivery system that you're going to use. Now you need to marry that up to a good rod and a good reel, and also the right type of line. So let's look at the rod. This is the Free Spirit spom rod. It's designed for spomming. Now I already own a 13-foot custom built high-S spod rod, and it's a beast. It really is a heavy duty rod, and it's designed for punching out spods or spoms well over the 200-yard mark if you're capable of doing so. But it really takes a very proficient caster to wind up. This, on the other hand, is a delicate rod, even though it's got plenty of power. It's beautifully made, typical Free Spirit. They've made it so that you can use it as not only a spom rod, but also as a marker rod, because it has the whippings here at 1 foot and at 2 foot, and it also has the markings there to indicate which one is which, if you don't already know. So you can use it, as I said, as a marker rod, but this rod is a versatile rod. We were out actually only recently, myself and Derek were fishing, and he sort of wanted to get out his spom setup that he used in the UK. While he was in the UK, Derek was fishing fairly hardish water, but a water that required a lot of spomming, and he was there with our good friend Rob Coleman. Rob Coleman put him onto a whole system of spomming. Up to now, Derek would have followed pretty much the same route as I would have followed, which is you need a very, very stiff, heavy rod. You need a big, heavy reel, one of the big sort of Ultegra style reels, and then you need a braided main line through to a braided shock leader. Well, what Rob Coleman has found, that's a good setup in certain circumstances, but in the majority of them, where you're not punching it over 150 yards, then coming back to a much softer setup is much better. The spom rod, as I said, is designed, it's a softer setup, softer rod, beautiful to hold, beautiful to cast. You can really feel the power wind up as you punch it. But Rob, as I said, decided to go down the route of using a main line for his actual, like a mono main line. That is, he uses 8-pound Daiwa sensor. So I'm going to run through the prices of this. A bulk spool of Daiwa sensor is €14.75. The actual spom rod here is $166.52. So just keep that in mind. He then marries that actual line, the 8-pound sensor, up to this. This is a Corda subline tapered leader, and it tapers from 8-pound through to 40-pound. So his main line is going to be, as I said, a mono line rather than a braided line. And up to now, that never computed with me. I was always under the impression that we should all be using braided lines. And the reason why Rob discovered, or friends of his discovered, that they found that the accuracy gained by using mono rather than braid was exponential. It really was a massive improvement. So having a look at the setup with Derek, I was actually blown away. I couldn't get over how easy the casting became. If I'd have put on my very big spod rod with my braided leader, I would never have got the accuracy that this setup was lending itself to. So I'm actually going to invest in one of these now myself. Now, the reel is also very important to get the balance right. Derek was using one of the CI4 5500s. Now, they do a couple of different reels in the range, and the 5500, there is a cheaper version. This is the very expensive one. You can buy the cheaper one, and you know, you'll get on famously with it. But it really made an awful difference. As I said, 8-pound line, it just flies off. We were casting around 78 yards very accurately, and I mean, I'm talking about dinner plate stuff, and you know, within a couple of casts, we were nailing it every single cast. I have no doubt that this setup will put baits out, or spoms out, should I say, at over 100 yards, no problem, maybe 110, 115. After that, I think you might need to step up to your heavier gear, but as I said, let's face it, most of us don't fish at that kind of range anyway for our everyday carping. But the Free Spirit range of rods are second to none. I love them to bits, and I wouldn't use any other rod at this stage. The Shimano reels are just absolutely gorgeous to use, and they're married up to the, as I said, the Daiwa sensor line in 8-pound, right through to the 8 to 40-pound subline tapered leader. It is probably the most perfect system of delivering bait I've ever used, period. And it's going to be one I'm going to employ on a more regular basis. So we'll get into a little bit of footage now of actually using it on the bank, and you can kind of see how accurate the kit is. But really, if you're in the mood to treat yourself for what I would consider the ultimate spomming kit, then look no further than everything I've just shown you here. It is absolutely first class.